They've been lying to you about war your entire life. Ever since you were old enough to hold a flag in your tiny hands, they've been feeding you a version of war that isn't real. Everything you learned in school, in movies, on the news, has been carefully edited to hide what war really does to people. Today, I'm going to show you what they never teach you. The parts of history books they delete. The stories veterans whisper only in the dark. The truth so uncomfortable, most people pretend it doesn't exist. Because once you see war for what it truly is, you'll never see war the same way again. So I spent months talking to real combat veterans, not the ones they parade around on TV, not the ones giving speeches at political rallies, the ones who came home but never really left, the ones still haunted, still fighting battles inside long after their tours ended, the ones still fighting the war in their heads 20, 30, 40 years later. And what they told me, man, it's nothing like what we've been taught. See, we grow up with this sanitized version of war. The hero charges the enemy position, bullets flying, explosions everywhere. He saves his buddies, gets the medal, comes home, credits roll. But that's not war. That's a 2-hour movie with a happy ending. Real war is something completely different. Something so much darker and more complicated that we don't even have the language to describe it properly. We have to use words like honor and sacrifice and duty, because the real words, the accurate words, they're too ugly, too honest, too real. And I'm going to use those real words today. Let me start with something simple. Something they never mention in the documentaries or the memorial speeches. War has a smell. Not gunpowder, not smoke, not the dramatic stuff from movies. War smells like burned human flesh mixed with diesel fuel and human waste. It smells like infection, like bodies rotting in the heat, like the inside of a slaughterhouse that's been sitting in the sun for a week. And that smell, it gets into everything. Your uniform, your gear, your skin, your hair. You can't wash it out. You can't escape it. A Marine named James told me about this. He served 3 tours in Iraq, been home for 15 years now. 15 years. And he says the smell still hits him sometimes, completely random. He'll be at the grocery store or sitting in traffic, and suddenly his brain conjures up that smell, and boom, he's back there, in the desert, surrounded by death. That's the first truth about war they don't tell you. It follows you home. It lives in your body, in your senses, in parts of your nervous system you can't control. But that's just scratching the surface, because what I'm about to tell you next is going to piss you off. Most of war isn't fighting. Most of war is waiting. You're sitting in the heat, bored out of your mind, filling sandbags, standing guard, cleaning weapons you've already cleaned 50 times, playing cards with the same 4 guys, having the same conversations, eating the same awful food, day after day after day. But then, without any warning, everything explodes. Actual explosions, gunfire, chaos, people screaming. Your brain switches from complete boredom to absolute survival mode in half a second. And that switch, that constant back and forth between crushing boredom and absolute terror, that's what breaks people. Not the combat itself, the whiplash. Your nervous system can't handle it. It's like someone's flipping a light switch in your brain 100 times a day. On, off, safe, danger, relax, fight, sleep, kill.
Eventually, something in that switch breaks, and it never works right again.
A soldier named Marcus explained it to me like this. He said when you're in combat, at least you know what's happening. You're focused, you have a mission. You're alive in a way you've never been alive before. Every sense is sharp, every decision matters. You feel real. But then the fighting stops, and you're back to sitting around, waiting. Nothing to do, nowhere to direct all that energy and fear and adrenaline. So your brain starts eating itself. You start thinking about home, about whether your girlfriend is cheating on you, about whether your parents are okay, about whether you're going to die out here for nothing, about whether any of this matters. And those thoughts, man, those thoughts are worse than any enemy. That's when guys start losing it. Not during the firefights, during the waiting. But here's where it gets really dark. And I need you to stick with me, because this is the part they really don't want you to know. Let me tell you about D-Day, June 6th, 1944, Normandy. They teach this in every school, talk about the bravery, the heroism, the sacrifice that saved the world. All true, but here's what they left out. The first wave of soldiers who hit Omaha Beach, they had a life expectancy of 90 seconds. 90 seconds. From the moment those landing craft ramps dropped until they were dead. 90 seconds. And it wasn't an accident. It wasn't bad luck. It was the plan. Command knew those men would die. The generals knew. They sent them anyway, because someone had to draw fire. Someone had to make the Germans waste ammunition. Someone had to create enough chaos that the second and third waves could make it through. Human shields, that's the strategy. Use the first wave as human shields for the next wave. Thousands of teenagers. Most of them had never been in combat before, never even been outside their home state. Suddenly they're packed into a landing craft, riding through rough water, throwing up from seasickness, listening to the sounds of explosions and machine gun fire getting closer. Then the ramp drops, and they see the beach. Bodies everywhere. The water red with blood. Soldiers screaming. Explosions and machine gun fire so thick it sounds like one continuous roar. And they know. In that moment, they know they're about to die. But they go anyway, because everyone else is going, because the guy behind them is pushing forward, because there's nowhere else to go, because if they don't move, they'll die right there on the boat anyway. Most of them died before they made it 10 feet, cut down by machine guns. The ones behind them had to climb over their bodies, had to use their dead friends as cover, had to step on corpses to get to the beach. 18-year-old kids. Stepping on the bodies of other 18-year-old kids while being shot at, while explosions are tearing people apart around them, while their own blood is filling their boots. That's not the movie version. That's what actually happened. And here's the question nobody wants to ask. Who decided that was acceptable? Who decided thousands of teenagers should die in 90 seconds? Who made that choice? And why weren't they on that beach? But we don't ask those questions because they're uncomfortable, because they make us doubt the narrative. Because once you start asking those questions, you have to face some really ugly truths about how war actually works. And trust me, it gets uglier. Let me tell you about a veteran named David. Army, Iraq, 2005. He was at a checkpoint outside Baghdad. Standard duty. Check vehicles, look for weapons, let the normal people through. They'd been briefed that morning about suicide bombers, showed them pictures, told them to be extra careful, shoot first if anything seems wrong. Around noon, a car approached, sedan, moving kind of fast. David signaled for it to stop. The car didn't stop. He fired a warning shot into the air. The car kept coming, getting closer, 40 meters, 30 meters, 20 meters. Protocol said eliminate the threat, so David fired into the windshield. Multiple shots. The car finally stopped. David approached with his squad, weapon up, ready,
He looked through the shattered windshield. Inside was a family. Father driving, mother in the passenger seat, 3 kids in the back. The youngest couldn't have been more than 5. The father was deaf. That's why he didn't stop. He couldn't hear the warnings, couldn't hear the shots. Just saw soldiers waving their arms, which he thought meant wave him through. The mother was dead, shot through the chest. One of the kids was dead. Another was screaming. Blood everywhere. David had followed every rule, done exactly what he was trained to do, protected his unit. His superiors said he'd made the right call. Because what if it had been a suicide bomber? What if David had hesitated and 20 soldiers died? But here's the thing. None of that matters to David. Because when he closes his eyes, he sees that car, sees those kids, sees the father's face when he realized his wife and child were dead. David followed every rule, did everything right, and he still killed innocent people. That's called moral injury, and it's different from PTSD. PTSD is about fear and trauma. Moral injury is about guilt and shame. It's what happens when you do something that violates your core beliefs about right and wrong, something you can't forgive yourself for, something that changes who you are at a fundamental level. And no amount of therapy or medication or time makes it go away. David tried to kill himself 3 times. He's alive now, but he told me he's not really living. He's just here, going through the motions, waiting for the guilt to finally consume him. And this happens all the time. This is normal in war. These impossible situations where there's no right choice, only bad and worse. And soldiers have to make these decisions in split seconds, then live with them forever. But here's what really makes me angry. You know why David was at that checkpoint? You know why he was in Iraq in the first place? Weapons of mass destruction. Remember those? The reason we invaded, the imminent threat, the smoking gun that could become a mushroom cloud. They didn't exist. We know that now. Everyone knows that. There were no MDWs. The intelligence was wrong, or fabricated, or exaggerated. Doesn't matter which. Point is, they weren't there. So David killed that family for nothing. For a lie. For weapons that didn't exist. And he has to live with that. While the politicians who sent him there, they're doing just fine. Making money, writing books, giving speeches. That's war. That's the truth. But wait, because it gets even worse. Let me tell you about friendly fire, about how many soldiers are killed by their own side. Go ahead and guess. What percentage of casualties do you think come from friendly fire? 10%? 5%? In some modern conflicts, it's 30%. Almost a third of casualties are from friendly fire. That means if you're a soldier, you're nearly as likely to be killed by your own military as by the enemy. Artillery lands on the wrong coordinates. Airstrikes hit the wrong building. In the chaos of combat, people shoot at movement and sounds and shadows. And sometimes, that shadow is your best friend. There was a British Special Forces unit in the Gulf War, SAS, the most elite, best-trained soldiers in the world. They were operating behind enemy lines, calling in airstrikes on Iraqi positions. They radioed the coordinates, planes came in, dropped their bombs, perfect strike. Except the coordinates were wrong, off by 200 meters. The bombs landed on a British patrol. 16 soldiers, all dead, killed by their own Air Force. The soldier who called in those coordinates had to live with that. They gave him a medal for the mission. He threw it in a river. Can you imagine? You're trying to help your brothers. You're doing your job, and you accidentally kill 16 of them. How do you come back from that? How do you sleep at night? You don't. That's the answer. You don't sleep. You don't come back from it. You just survive, day by day, carrying that weight. And we don't talk about this stuff. We don't prepare soldiers for it. We send them out there with rules and training and tell them to follow orders. Then they come back broken, and we wonder why.
17 veterans take their own lives every day in America. Every single day. That's not enemy action. That's not combat deaths. That's heroes who survived the war but couldn't survive coming home. Let that sink in. More than 6,400 a year. Since 9/11, we've lost over 37,000 veterans to suicide, more than 5 times the 7,057 we lost in combat in Iraq and Afghanistan combined.
And we just accept it? We put up some monuments and have some ceremonies and thank them for their service? That's it? But here's what nobody wants to admit. Here's the ugly truth hiding underneath all of this. Those suicides, they're not because veterans are weak. They're not because they can't handle civilian life. They're because of what war made them do, what it made them see, what it turned them into. Let me tell you about a Marine named Chris. 3 tours, Iraq and Afghanistan. Saw heavy combat, lost a lot of friends, came home with PTSD, traumatic brain injury, and enough guilt to crush a normal person. Chris told me about the worst day of his life. His unit was clearing a building in Fallujah, going room by room, kicking doors, throwing grenades. Standard urban combat. They kicked in one door, Chris threw a flashbang grenade, standard procedure, disorient anyone inside, then enter and clear. He went in, smoke everywhere, couldn't see clearly, saw movement, fired. Training took over, threat elimination, 2 shots, center mass. The smoke cleared. It was a kid, maybe 12 years old, holding a broom. He was sweeping, just doing chores, heard the soldiers coming and probably froze in fear. Chris killed a 12-year-old kid who was sweeping the floor. Now, was Chris wrong? Legally, no. It was a combat zone. The kid was military-age male by the standards they were using. The room hadn't been cleared. Chris had a split second to decide. But morally, Chris killed a child who was just trying to help his family, who was in the wrong place at the wrong time. And Chris has to live with that forever. He sees that kid every night, in his dreams, when he closes his eyes, when he looks at his own kids. That's moral injury. That's the wound that never heals. But here's what makes me furious. You know why Chris was in that building? Why he was in Fallujah? Why he was in Iraq? Because we were told Iraq was connected to 9/11, that they had terrorists, that we needed to spread democracy, that we were making the world safer. All lies, or at best, gross exaggerations. Iraq had nothing to do with 9/11. Everyone knows that now. But we sent Chris anyway. We put him in that situation. We made him kill that kid. Then we gave him a medal and sent him home and expected him to be fine. He's not fine. He'll never be fine. And we keep doing this, generation after generation, sending kids to war, breaking them, then acting surprised when they can't put themselves back together. Now, let me tell you about something that's going to blow your mind, about how war has changed but also stayed exactly the same. Drones, remote warfare, the future of combat. We have pilots sitting in air-conditioned buildings flying drones over Afghanistan or Yemen or wherever. They watch people through high-definition cameras, track them for days, see them live their lives. Wake up, eat breakfast, play with their kids in the yard, kiss their wife, go to work. Then the pilot gets an order. That person is a target. Press the button, fire the missile, watch the explosion, watch the body parts scatter, confirm the kill, clock out. Drive home through Las Vegas traffic, have dinner with your own family. Next day, do it again. And we thought this was progress. We thought it was better because our soldiers aren't in danger. It's clean, precise, surgical strikes, no American casualties. But what we're learning is that drone pilots have PTSD rates just as high as infantry soldiers. Some studies say higher. Why? Because they're killing people intimately. They watch them for days, learn their routines, see them be human, then kill them, then go home and be human themselves. The psychological whiplash is destroying these pilots. A drone operator named Robert told me about a strike he did. Taliban commander, high-value target. They'd been tracking this guy for 3 weeks. Robert watched him every day, watched him wake up, watched him pray, watched him play with his kids in the yard, watched him help his elderly mother walk to the market. For 3 weeks, Robert watched this guy be a person, a father, a son, a human being. Then one day, the order came through. The guy was meeting with other Taliban commanders, valid target, time sensitive, take the shot. Robert fired. Hellfire missile, 5 people dead, building destroyed, mission success. But Robert also saw the aftermath, saw the guy's kids run out of the house, saw them find their father, or what was left of him, saw them screaming, saw the elderly mother collapse, watched all of it in 4K high-definition video. Then Robert's shift ended. He walked to his car, drove home. His own kids were in the driveway. They ran up to him yelling, "Daddy, Daddy," wanted him to play with them. And Robert couldn't do it, couldn't touch them, because 30 minutes ago, he'd watched another father die, watched that father's kids cry. And the disconnect between those two realities was too much. Robert started drinking a lot. His marriage fell apart. He can't hold a job now, can't sleep, can't function.
That's modern warfare. Clean and distant and destroying people in ways we're only beginning to understand. But here's the part that's going to make you angry. Here's what they really don't want you to know. Every major war we fought in the last 50 years has been based on lies. Vietnam, the Gulf of Tonkin incident, the thing that started the whole war. It either didn't happen or was massively exaggerated. We know this now. Declassified documents prove it. But we sent 58,000 Americans to die anyway. Iraq, weapons of mass destruction, the smoking gun, the imminent threat. They didn't exist.
Everyone knows this, but we invaded anyway. Thousands of Americans dead, hundreds of thousands of Iraqis dead. For nothing. Afghanistan. We went in to get bin Laden. Fair enough. We got him in 2011. Then we stayed for another 13 years. Why? What were we doing? Nobody can give you a straight answer. Syria, Libya, Yemen, Somalia, all these places we're involved militarily. Ask anyone to explain why, to give you a clear, honest reason. They can't, because there isn't one, not a real one. The real reasons are about money, oil, defense contracts, political leverage, corporate interests, everything except what they tell us. And soldiers know this. They're not stupid. They can see it, but they go anyway, because they don't have a choice, or because they need the money, or because they believe in the brotherhood, or because they don't know what else to do with their lives. Then they come back broken, having killed people, having lost friends, having destroyed their own mental health, for corporate profits, for political careers, for reasons that have nothing to do with defending America. That's the truth. That's what we don't want to admit. Let me tell you about what war does to families, because it's not just the soldiers who pay the price. When a soldier deploys, their entire family goes to war. The spouse left behind, the kids, the parents, they're not in danger, but they're at war too. A soldier's wife named Sarah told me what it was like when her husband deployed to Iraq. She said every single time the doorbell rang, her heart would stop. Every time a car slowed down in front of her house, she thought, this is it. This is them coming to tell me he's dead. She couldn't sleep, couldn't focus at work, snapped at her kids for no reason, developed an ulcer from stress, lost 30 pounds, started having panic attacks in the grocery store. 15 months of that. 15 months of living in constant fear, of going to bed every night not knowing if her husband was alive, of waking up every morning and checking her phone before she even opened her eyes. Then he finally came home, and she thought it would get better, thought they could go back to normal, but he came back different, angry, distant, couldn't sleep, had nightmares, couldn't connect with the kids, couldn't be intimate with her, drank too much, exploded over small things. It was like living with a stranger who looked like her husband but wasn't him anymore. They tried therapy, tried medications, tried everything. Nothing worked. Because you can't fix what war breaks. You can only manage it. They divorced 4 years later, not because they stopped loving each other, because the war had changed him too much, had turned the person she married into someone she didn't recognize, someone who couldn't be a husband or father anymore. And the kids? They grew up with a father who was there, but not there, who couldn't show affection, who scared them when he had his episodes, who they learned to walk on eggshells around. Those kids are teenagers now. Both of them have anxiety disorders. One is in therapy for depression. The other started getting in trouble at school, acting out, looking for attention their father couldn't give. That's what war does to families, destroys them from the inside, creates ripples that spread through generations. And here's something that'll blow your mind. Scientists have discovered that trauma can literally change your DNA. It's called epigenetic inheritance. The trauma you experience can alter how your genes express themselves, and you pass those changes to your children. There are grandchildren of Holocaust survivors who have anxiety disorders, who show symptoms of PTSD, even though they never experienced the Holocaust. The trauma got passed down through their DNA. Same thing happens with war. A soldier's trauma doesn't just affect them, it affects their kids, their grandkids,
War has genetic ripples that go on for generations. I talked to a guy whose grandfather was in Vietnam. His grandfather came home messed up, beat his kids, drank heavily, created a household of fear and tension. That guy, his father, grew up in that environment, developed his own issues, anger problems, trust issues, passed those down. Now this guy, the grandson, has never been to war, never been in combat, never even been in the military, but he has nightmares about Vietnam, anxiety about helicopters, irrational fears that come from nowhere, inherited trauma. His grandfather's war became his war through DNA and family dysfunction. That's the real cost of war, not just the soldiers, their families, their communities, multiple generations. War is a stone thrown in a pond. The ripples never stop. Now let me tell you about something else they don't teach you, about how random war is, how much of survival is just pure luck. There was this platoon in Afghanistan, 40 guys. They were on a routine patrol, same route they'd done dozens of times. They stopped for a break in this courtyard. Half the guys sat on one side, half they sat on the other. Random, no reason, just wherever there was space. A mortar round came in, one single round. Could have landed anywhere. It landed right in the middle of that courtyard. 18 guys died, instantly. The other 22, not a scratch. Same platoon, same courtyard, same mission. 5 feet made the difference between life and death. How do you process that? How do you make sense of surviving because you happen to sit on the left side instead of the right? There's no reason, no logic, no divine plan, just random chance. And the survivors carry that forever. Survivor guilt. Why them and not me? Why did I get to live? Why do I get to go home and have a wife and kids and a future when they don't? There's no good answer. No answer that makes it okay. One of the survivors from that courtyard, his name was Mike, he told me he wishes he died that day. Not because he wants to be dead, but because the guilt of surviving is worse than death would have been. He can't enjoy anything, can't be happy, because 18 of his brothers are dead and he's alive for no reason. Every good thing in his life feels like a betrayal, like he's stealing experiences that should have gone to them. That's what war does. Takes the survivors and fills them with guilt for surviving.
Let me tell you one more story. This one's going to hurt. There was an Army Ranger named William, squad leader, Iraq, 2005. His squad got ambushed during a night raid. Heavy combat. They were outnumbered and pinned down in this building. The fight lasted 6 hours. 6 hours of continuous combat. No reinforcements, no air support. Just his squad, their ammunition, and their training. By the end, 4 of his guys were dead. 5 more were wounded. William himself took 3 rounds, kept fighting through it, kept his squad together, kept them alive until relief finally arrived. They gave him a Silver Star, 3rd highest military decoration for valor. Everyone said he was a hero, said he'd saved his squad, done everything right. William killed himself 2 years later, hanged himself in his parents' basement. He was 25 years old. His suicide note was one sentence: "I'm sorry I couldn't save them all." That's what war does. Creates wounds that medals can't fix. Gives you achievements that feel like failures. Makes heroes who see themselves as failures. Because William didn't see the 8 guys he saved. He only saw the 4 he lost. And that guilt ate him alive until there was nothing left.
Now, here's what I want you to understand. I'm not saying soldiers aren't brave. They are. I'm not saying military service can't be honorable. It can be. I'm not even saying war is never necessary. Maybe sometimes it is. What I'm saying is we need to stop lying about what war actually is. We send kids to war with parades and flags and speeches about honor and duty and sacrifice. We fill their heads with glory, with purpose, with the idea that they're fighting for freedom and democracy and the American way. Then they get there and discover it's nothing like that. It's chaos and fear and moral injury. It's killing people who might not be enemies. It's watching your friends die for objectives that don't matter. It's coming home and realizing you can never be normal again. We gave them a lie. They brought back the truth. And the truth doesn't fit into the lie. So they break trying to make it fit. And we act surprised. We wonder why they're struggling, why they can't just move on, why they're killing themselves at 22 per day. It's because we lied to them, and they paid the price for our lives. So here's what I want you to carry with you. When our leaders talk about war, threats, enemies, sacrifice, and duty, don't just accept the slogans. Ask the hard questions. Demand the real answers, not fear, not sound bites, real reasons, real consequences. Because the people making those decisions, they're not signing up. Their kids aren't enlisting. They're not the ones with turning broken. It's working-class kids from small towns, kids looking for a way out, who pay the price. They signed up believing in honor, but they weren't told the real cost. They deserve better. We all deserve better. They deserve honesty, not the rosy recruitment video. They deserve the truth, the smell, the guilt, the moral injury, the loss, the PTSD, the family shattered, the lives lost. If we were honest about what war actually does, the lives it ruins, the souls it breaks, maybe, just maybe, we'd be far more cautious about waging it. If you want more truth, raw, unfiltered, and real, hit subscribe now. Because this isn't just about the battlefield. It's about what stays with you long after the fighting stops. Stay with me. There's more coming. Real stories, real scars, real warriors. And it's time the world heard them.